Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. This is the first Mayor and Chief at your service. So first, before I get into that, I just wanted to thank Midnight Treats for sponsoring the event. So please, you can get up at any time. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end, but pick up some cookies, take some home, whatever you'd like to do. But I've also like to thank, of course, our IT department and our PIO and Melanie Clark. She is the town clerk for setting the room up. And for all the police officers for being here tonight. We have a big group of them, and I appreciate y'all being here. And of course, the chief. So it started, Mayor at Your Service is something that's been going on since my mother actually was the mayor. She started it, and then Laurie DiRocco did it, and I had a few. And so I was talking to the chief about it, and we were thinking, I said, well, maybe one night, you can present. Well, then we started talking, and we like to work together. At least I like to work with him anyway. And we came up with this idea that we would join together, and we would have mayor and chief at your service. And so we're going to have 4 a year, and the focus is going to go back and forth. Tonight, of course, it's more police-oriented, and then the next time will be more town, mayor-oriented, and we'll kind of go back and forth like that. And so I hope you all can make all of them. But safety is my number one concern and my number one priority for Vienna. And I'm sure it's the chief's too. And so that's why we're here tonight, to talk about all of that. And so we're going to have a short presentation, and then after the presentation, we will have time for questions. And the questions don't have to be about the presentation. They can be about anything. And the questions can be for the chief, they can be for me, they can be for both of us. But we are here for you. We want to hear whatever your concerns or questions are. And also, there will be a time for announcements. If you're a part of an organization, I know Nevka's here tonight. I know Bob McCahill, I just saw you. I don't know where you went. There you are. I know you probably have an announcement, and anyone else that has an announcement tonight, we'll have time for you at that point. So I would like to introduce your Chief of Police, Jim Morris.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda. I appreciate it. Thank you. Since I had a couple of private conversations with folks about what you're seeing on the screen, I thought I'd take a minute and describe that a little bit better. That's what we're in now. That's what we've been working for since before I got here 10 years ago. It went under construction for 2 years. Some setbacks, a lot of hard work, a lot of project management, but it's a great facility. It's an amazing facility as you're sitting in it now, and you can see. But I cannot go to enough spaces around this building and tell you we didn't have that, we didn't have that, we didn't have a community room, we didn't have an interview room in the lobby for people, we didn't have lobby space. We have all that now. So this is a great facility. We are 95% moved in, depending on how we want to classify it. The only thing not in this building at this point is dispatch. We do our own non-emergency call taking, and 911 calls come in from Fairfax County. That's not here yet. That's still in the basement of Town Hall. That has more to do with just the logistics of moving it here. We wanted to do that last so we could focus on it, because if there's something that's going to go down, that's what we have to really be careful with. Officers moving in, if something went wrong, we're still fine. We can respond to calls for service. Dispatch, we have to really make sure we do it methodically. So that's going to take place hopefully next week. So as community members, let me say thank you for the wonderful facility. The drone being flown, that's Fairfax County Crime Scene's drone. Thank you for loaning us the drone. They were up doing a crime scene for us, and Captain Silmore asked, hey, as long as you're up, can you get us some good shots of the station? So they came in, did some great shots. As the mayor mentioned, as we sat down and talked about the premise of Mayor and Chief at your service, or I like to say Chief and Mayor at your service. No. The idea behind it was to interact with the community. I've been with Fairfax County. I was there for 25 years, and each district station has a meeting like this where community members can come in and meet the chief, meet the captain of that station, and talk. So as we talked, I really envisioned that model, because it gives you a chance to come in and talk, gives you a chance to raise a question. You don't have to wait for a council meeting to go, hey, there's speeding on Kingsley. There's things going on here. We take it all in, and that's why I bring some key members of the police department. So we have they can hear the concern immediately, and you either get an immediate answer, or it gets immediately addressed, or you at least know you'll get some follow-up. So that's why we're here. I would like to introduce the forced audience. We have Sergeant Pat Kiley He's actually filling in as an acting captain for the communications section. When he's not doing that, he is the sergeant of the traffic division. So as you see the motor officers out and about, as you send in a request for traffic enforcement, that's going to go straight to Patrick, and he's going to assign it out to his folks. Next is Captain Tom Taylor. He oversees operations for the police department. He oversees traffic also, but he also oversees patrol, all town special events you'll see Tom at. He organizes all the events, whether it's Viva Vienna, 4th of July, Chillin' on Church. Tom takes care of all those. Next, we have our very outgoing Juan Vasquez. He will take over the presentation shortly. He's our PIO, Community Outreach Officer. If you're looking for a program, you're looking for something for a Boy Scout troop, Girl Scout troop, community meeting, Juan's the guy that can come out and talk to you. Then we have Captain Art Sillmore. He oversees our investigations. He has the detectives as we talk about cars tonight. Those all end up in his shop, so that's why he'll be talking a little bit about that, what we have, what we don't have, what we have going on. And then finally, Deputy Chief Dan Janicki. He takes care of all this, oversees all this, takes care of anything. Same thing, if you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me, know how to get a hold of Dan, and that's really the key. Tonight we're going to talk about, ironically, we had already decided we were going to talk about stolen cars in the community a little bit, and we had that on the program, and then we had a carjacking. So that's when we thought, okay, good timing, we're going to stick with the program then. We will work in a little bit about the carjacking, what is factual about it, what might not be factual, what you heard, what may or may not be true, but also talk about stolen autos in general. Juan's going to give us some tips on how to avoid being a victim of stolen autos. Art's going to go over what we see in the town as far as stolen autos go, what we have seen over the last 4 or 5 years, what we're currently seeing, and more importantly, why we're seeing it. Vienna we all pride ourselves on how safe Vienna is. We think it's an incredibly safe town, and we want it that way, and we work very hard to keep it that way. That doesn't mean we're immune. So when you hear of a stolen auto throughout the region, a huge uptick in stolen autos, we're going to be susceptible to that just like everybody else. And that's, patrol. Tom's always focusing guys out for stolen autos to take care of it, but that doesn't mean we're immune, as you are well aware. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Captain Sillmore. He will talk a little bit about, like I said, about what snapshot of Vienna, maybe a snapshot a little bit about the region and his efforts and what's happening.
Thanks, Chief.
Sure.
All right, stolen autos. We have them, just like the Chief said. If you've ever had anything stolen, especially your car, surely you felt a little bit vulnerable, a little bit aggravated, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing in town, what the trends are nationwide, what the region is experiencing, and then what the town is doing. Like the Chief said, it's a regional problem. Nationwide, car theft is up about 100,000 incidents year after year. DC had a major uptick, 153%. They're up. In Fairfax County, I just talked to their auto theft people yesterday, and they said they are also trending up. I pulled a couple of our county stats. 1,100 cars were stolen in Fairfax County last year. They had one carjacking. We've had one carjacking. I don't like that ratio. Carjackings for us are extremely unusual. We'll talk a little bit more about our specific incident and what you might do if you find yourself in that situation. Fairfax County said that they are trending upward, and it's only going to get worse, in their opinion. They've already had 146 car thefts in Fairfax County. We've had about 2 or 3. So a typical car theft in Vienna has these key components. Almost inevitably, the doors are unlocked, the keys are in the car goes to DC or Maryland where it's abandoned. And we very rarely make arrests in these cases. And it's not for lack of effort. We go there, we process the cars. Normally our suspects are wearing gloves. A lot of them are juveniles. They don't have fingerprints on file. So a lot of those leads are dead ends for us. I did pull our stats for the last few years, as you can see, 2019 and 2020. In 2020, we had a major uptick in incidents. Then 21 and 22 pretty much leveled off. And I wanted to put, I don't know if you can read this, but I wanted to put this up here just because I pulled 2022 numbers. And as you can see, almost every one of these has very common things. They all have sort of the same theme. The car's unlocked and the keys are in it. Cars are unlocked, the keys are in it, key left accessible, cars left running. People say the keys are always inside. Of course, it's Vienna, it's very safe. I hate it that we have to lock our cars. I hate it that we have to take the keys out, but that's just reality. But there is good news. And I think we can work together to decrease these numbers. Part of the good news is that our guys are out there in patrol 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pulling cars over, contacting people who are out, late at night. They don't look like they belong in the area. They're just, community policing, talking to people, seeing what's going on, and a lot of that is a deterrent. And you can see that in the numbers where, if you look at 2020 specifically, during the pandemic, we tried to pull back, not have too much community contact, and I think there was an uptick in motor vehicle thefts as a result. I mean, we just couldn't be out there as much as we wanted to. But in 2021 and in 2022, we're back out there again. We're coming out of COVID. The officers are able to be more proactive. They're able to make car stops and subject stops. So you can see that our numbers leveled off. For us in Vienna, we get a car theft about every month, one a month. It's an irritating nuisance crime, but again, there's good news about this crime. It's a preventable crime. Some of the great news is that if you lock your car, you take the keys out, that really puts us in a very powerful position. It defeats most criminals because they're looking for low-hanging fruit. They're looking for an easy crime. If they pull on your door, the door is locked, or if the door is unlocked but there are no keys inside, a lot of times they'll just move on to the next car. The great news for us is locked doors, keys not inside, and those key fobs that allow you to keep it in your pocket and start the car. There's something very specific that we can do. I don't want to steal any of Officer Vasquez's thunder, but there's something you can very specifically do with those key fobs to help defeat the criminals. So with that, I will turn it over to Officer Vasquez. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
You had mentioned that the cars are abandoned in Maryland and D.C.
Right.
So they're not going to chop shops or being sold or shipped in containers overseas. They're just being abandoned. So what percentage are being recovered?
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a very, very high recovery rate. The bad news of that is that a lot of them sustain damage, or they'll be on the toll road, so you get a bunch of toll road tickets. Sometimes they take, things that are valuable inside the car, out of the car. So if you have personal possessions, a phone, a wallet, change, money, anything like that, a lot of the times that stuff is stripped out. So we have a high recovery rate, not a high closure rate when it comes to car theft, but and it's a young person crime. I mean, we have tons and tons and tons of Ring doorbell camera video of these people stealing these cars, and almost without exception, it is young people stealing these cars. So again, the locking the car and the taking the keys out really helps us help the youth, I mean, we don't want to be out there arresting teenagers any more than their parents want us out there arresting them. We'd rather them be doing something else, and would rather them not be stealing cars. So we do get a lot of those cars back, but unfortunately, there are things missing from them when we get them back, or there's damage to them. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick follow-on.
Yep.
Are these 8 cars that you're getting over the last couple of years, are these cars being powered? Are they almost always because someone left them running, or the keys were inside? How's sophisticated?
I would say every one of our incidents that we've had in the past couple of years, the keys were left in the car, or the car was left running. So those are, if the car had been locked or the keys out of it, either one of those two being true, the car probably would have not been stolen. We really haven't seen very much people breaking the columns and hot wiring. And there's a TikTok challenge with these Kias and stuff where they're breaking the column out and using a USB to start the car. We're not seeing any of that in Vienna. It really is these kids going from car to car. When they find an easy target, they take the car.
And that's really, it's almost a spin-off of what we've been dealing with for 30 years, to be honest with you. It used to be vehicle tamperings. You go into a neighborhood, you'd sign on your computer at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you'd know a neighborhood just had someone going up and down the street breaking into cars because you'd have 15 pending cases. And they were unlocked cars, they'd go in the glove box, they'd take change, they might take a computer, and might take a purse. Well, what we saw now over the last few years, while they're in that car, they put their foot on their brake and they hit the ignition. If your key fob's in that car, your car's gonna start. And now we used to be a vehicle tampering, it's now a stolen car. And they're well aware of that. Our goal in patrol, we want to head this off before they get to your car. That's why we have officers trying to get them into neighborhoods, look around, what's driving around at 3 o'clock in the morning. We can't randomly stop cars. We can't just stop a car and go, you don't belong here. But we're looking for suspicious activity. What's going on? My goal is for them to move on. Nothing personal. My goal is to go to Oakton, go to Tyson's, keep moving and get out. I don't want to catch them in the act. I don't want to chase cars around here. That's bad news. You start chasing stolen cars. No police department really wants to be doing that because that never turns out well. My goal is prevention, get them out of the neighborhoods before they get into a car. Yeah. Go ahead.
You had talked a little bit about like the cars running. So when the cars are stolen, is it typically like in the evenings, or is it sometimes like we're getting ready for work and school and we go out on the whole day and leave the car running? Like, does that also happen? Should we just not be doing that anymore?
Yeah, it's both of those. We've had cars getting warmed up in the morning that have been stolen right out of the driveway. We had a car that was at a coffee shop left running because it was cold outside. The person went inside to get a coffee, came back outside, their car was gone. I would say it's not the best practice. Yes, sir.
Have you had any incidents where somebody gets into the car and hits the garage door opener and goes to the house?
We have not had that, no.
But I think most people leave the garage door open in the car.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to give people ideas, but we haven't we haven't had that so far. We haven't had very much of that. Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here tonight and taking questions. You mentioned that the cars are generally being recovered out of state, but do you know why, what the motivation for the thefts are? Are they using these cars to do other crimes in the meantime, then abandoning them, or what's driving people to do this?
It's hard to say without any suspects in custody. Like, we don't get the benefit of an interview, so we don't know 100%, but it seems like there's a lot of that's their ride home. So they came here under some other means of transportation, whether it's the metro or being dropped off, and they're getting home. Because a lot of these are recovered in neighborhoods or apartment complexes. We have a couple of videos from the air of people, parking the car and walking to, a very large, very dense apartment complex. So it looks just like the cars are being driven home.
Or is it possible they're just letting the cars sit on the street for a while to see if they're being tracked and then come back later?
Potentially, but we really do recover these fairly quickly. It's not like we have cars missing for months and months and months, most of the time. I mean, sometimes on rare occasion we'll have one missing for a few months, but almost without exception we have cars recovered that same week or a couple weeks later. Yep, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the Ring doorbell cameras.
Yes.
Ever been helpful?
They are so helpful.
The image of a guy in a hoodie.
We love Ring doorbell cameras, and I won't say specifically Ring, but we love Ring and all the other vendors of doorbell cameras. But they really are the next technological advancement for us to try to identify, at least get a look at people who are committing these crimes. Because, I mean, if you rewound a few years before those doorbell cameras, we'd really just be guessing at at what the suspects look like, what their MO was, what time of day they came. At least the Ring doorbells cameras give us kind of a time frame of when to concentrate our efforts and maybe in a particular area. So we definitely like them because trying to track down who has a security system and who doesn't, the old school security systems, that is very frustrating, you know, and almost never did we get as good a quality image as we do on some of these cameras.
And it also helps, like a Ring doorbell also helps us, as I was talking about patrol. They're the secret to this, is the patrol guys. The more information we can feed them, and your Ring doorbell may tell us, oh look, the car came into the neighborhood at 3 in the morning. Oh look, 4 people got out. You're right, we probably can't identify them.
They don't result in an arrest.
Probably not in an arrest, but definitely with more information we can feed to patrol. Hey, 4 o'clock in the morning, look for cars, they're coming, look for multiple people in them, look for people doing anything. Here's how they're coming into town and getting the cars.
Great. Yes, sir.
This bullet here, and I missed when you were going over the slide, keep your fob in your bedroom or in a box. I mean, I keep my fob probably way too close there. Right? 'Cause it's in the kitchen, the car's in the garage.
Well,
so what's going on here? Why do you recommend that?
Again, I don't want to steal Officer Vasquez's
probably a good
thunder,
transition point.
but that's the perfect point
Transition
to pivot, so.
point? Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually what I'm going to talk about. So you're stealing my
Officer Vasquez
thunder.
will give us some tips, both tips you may know about, tips you don't know about stolen cars and
we have some videos
what
too.
happened. And we have some videos. Perfect. All right,
So,
Juan.
just to piggyback on what Art was saying, there's an app called Neighbors. Anyone uses that? Neighbors is an app that you can sign up. And if you have a Ring camera or things like that, when we're looking for information in a case, they send an alert out to that specific area requesting everyone that has a camera on that block to let us know and share the video with us. So it's an app that you sign up to let us know you have a camera and that you're willing to share the information. So you have to allow us to view the video, but the detectives will be very, it will be very useful to them if they can tap into that when they have a crime. We can send the request to that location. And some of the conversation already went about making sure you don't leave anything in your car of value, because we're getting all the cars are taking stuff, computers, tablets, or purses or things like that. So what Art was saying definitely is totally true. But the new trend is with the key fobs, right? Who has a push start vehicle right now in this room? Can you raise your hand? Do you put a key in or it just starts when you hit the push start, right?
Yeah.
Like half of the people, right? So the way it works is that key is constantly sending a signal to your car, and the car is constantly asking for that signal, right? So thieves have evolved, right, with technology, so they understand how this technology works. So there's something called relay boxes that they can buy for a very cheap amount of money. What it does, it captures that signal that's coming out of that key, and it sends it to another relay box of someone that's next to your car with the second relay box waiting for that signal to be amplified. So duplicate it, and the car says, oh, you're here, I'm gonna open the door because my owner's here, and starts, and as soon as it starts, the second person runs because they don't need the key anymore because the car's already running, and for safety reasons, most of the cars don't turn off after it's already started, because if you're in the middle of driving on the highway and the car just stalls on you, you might have a problem, right? So if you forget your key at home, but they know this, so they know once they start the car, they're good to go, right? So I'm gonna show you a really quick video, 48 seconds, how this person lost their vehicle, right? First person comes in, he's the one that has the relay box, and the cable he's holding is to amplify. It's like an antenna, right? Trying to capture the signal, because most people leave the keys in the kitchen, by the door, or somewhere, even in the bedroom. If you amplify it enough, look at the second guy go into the car. All he has to do is get near the door with the second relay box, and as soon as he opens that, the car already opened because he amplified the signal. And when you see the car start, he immediately starts running because, good to go. The car's already on, car's on. What is it, 30 seconds? They're gone. They didn't need the key, they didn't need anything. They just needed 2 relay boxes. That's how that works, right? Super simple. They don't have to break a window, they don't have to do anything. You're sleeping, they're gone, right? Can you play the second one, Tom? This one, the person was going to work, and he actually almost saw the whole thing happen. He got surveillance from a neighbor 4 houses down. And they're looking for specific vehicles. Sometimes they read the VIN number to make sure it's the right car they're looking for, the right model, because they're, organized crime. They're looking for specific vehicles they want to take. So there's a few houses down where they're parking. They already know which car they're coming to get. And all they gotta do is have 2 relay boxes, right? One near the door, the another one near the house. And if they don't get it in the front door, they'll walk to the bedroom because they know you probably took it to the bedroom, or you left it in the garage, or you know, we're all guilty of that. Or push door too, so they gotta live in an apartment. So first guy comes up. He's already going over there to verify the VIN number. That's the right truck. Then the other one goes near the house with the relay box, looking for the signal. And they're not shy about going to the camera because he has a Ring camera. They go right up to it. The car's already open, right? Because he's pulling the antenna and he's repeating the signal. This truck particularly honks the horn 3 times to let you know there's no key detected. So when the truck was leaving, it started honking the horn, letting him know that the key's not in the car. And that's how the homeowner knew. And it took, what, 30 seconds? Boom, in and out. Got a brand new truck. Don't need the key, I don't have to break the lock, I don't have to break the window. It's super simple these days, right? It's very convenient to have a push start vehicle, but it's making it very convenient for people to take them to, right? And the homeowner obviously runs out trying to figure out like what happened. And like, they just took my car. It happened pretty quickly. The whole video is like 2 minutes, right? And I'll show you one more. Pretty much the same scenario. This is a high-end vehicle. It's a C63 Mercedes. Those are the, for not car people, I'm a car person, 8-cylinder, twin-turbo, AMG model. That's a $100,000 vehicle, right? They're not cheap. $100,000. You drive a nice truck. Yours is probably around 100 too. I've seen it. Push start. One day I'll get one of those, maybe when I retire. So the car they're targeting is this black one. There's a Mini Cooper right next to it, but they don't really care. And they're parked a little bit down the street, and then they come back up. Is the video frozen? Okay, so first guy, this one they use different technology. The relay boxes can actually capture the code that the key's sending, and he can bring it back to the other guy and relay it to the other relay box, and now he has a key in his hands basically, and he can start the car and take it because they recorded the signal from the key. So the first guy is looking for the signal. Once he gets it on the box, you're going to see the light go on, and then he goes to the other guy, and then they kind of share the information, and after that is they have a key basically. They just made it in like a few seconds, So they go to the back door, they share the code. That's what they're doing with the boxes right now, communicating.
Stolen within seconds. Yet another vehicle.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Actually have you some props over here so you can see how they work.
Tonight, CTV News investigates.
So he's able to open the door. And the other one's waiting to help with the signals to make sure that the car starts, because the signal has to be strong or the car's going to start, not just to open the door. But as soon as they hear that car starting, they're running, because they already know they got the car. And that's a really loud car when it turns on. You heard them, but the AMGs are really loud. So I'm sure the homeowner's going to wake up. But once they saw the light flashing, that's the signal, the turn signal, because the person turned it on when they were parking. They're running out and go over the sidewalk, and they're gone in a second. $100,000 vehicle just taken. So
you've been delving into how widespread this problem is.
I got some props here. So Faraday boxes, what Captain Silmer was mentioning before, it's basically it blocks the signal from your key. That's what it does. So it looks like that's just $20 on Amazon. I just ordered one. They have hundreds of them, but you can buy anywhere. So it looks like a regular box. You open it up, you put your stuff in there, kind of like a jewelry box or whatever. Close it, blocks the signal with the key. No one can get the signal, right? If you don't want a big box, you can get this for like cell phones. You can put your cell phone here if you don't want the cell phone to get the signal out. If you want to, you can pass them around. And if you have a car key, you can put it in this one, right? It looks like a little pouch. You can hang it for women on your purse or something. Guys can hang it from whatever. And your key normally sits in there, right? So the signal won't come out, and you'll be good to go, right? Some car companies allow you to actually disable that feature of the car. Mercedes is one of them, right? There's a certain steps you do with the key that will disable the automatic unlock when you go to the car. The bad thing is you have to click on it to get it open. But I think it's not that big of a deal, right? Land Rover, other companies do the same thing. So you should check with the company that makes your vehicle and see if they have that option. Some dealerships can disable that. If you want to disable and you don't want that to work, but then you go back to the clicking every time you go in or out of the car. That's the only downside, right? So the convenience is gone, but the safety is there, right? Other things you can do, because the problem is once they take the car, we've had some that they remove the tracking mechanism of the car. So if you have those apps that you can track your car that I do, they know where the tracking mechanism is sometimes and they'll remove it. So then you don't know where the car is at after that. I personally have an AirTag on my car. Like I put a little tracking device, I hid it somewhere in the car. So if they were to take the tracking out of my car, they don't know where I have that second one. I know where the car's at, right? Because I don't want anyone taking it. Well, at least I want to find it, if they took it, right? So you can do something like that if you wish to do that. But again, the dealership can disable that. You can sometimes disable it with yourself. You follow some steps online if you want to do that. But at least keep the key away from the front door. Keep it all the way on the farthest point away from the car, to make it harder to take the vehicle. If you have a garage, drive it into the garage, close the garage, then you don't have to worry about anything like that if you happen to have a garage. I live in town too, so I share the same concern everyone here does. So is Linda. So we obviously keeping an eye on this, but just wanted to give you some tips about what's going on out there since you were asking. Yeah, it's a new thing. Technology is changing now. The car companies are trying to figure out how to fight it back, so they're trying to come up with ideas and do certain things to the car. And some keys are not, they call it a sleeping key. Basically, if they don't detect movement, if you're not walking with the key automatically shuts itself off because it realizes that you're probably left it on a table or something. So it's called a sleeper key. So now they're trying to start this new technology to combat that problem that we have. But in the meantime, $10, $20, get a Faraday pouch, you put your key in there, and make sure you put the spare too. Don't just put the one you use. The spare works the same way. Make sure all the keys are in there. Okay?
Juan, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Juan.
You have a question?
Just another subject. You're talking about stolen cars. What about catalytic converter theft?
Definitely a problem. And again, it's in town, it's out of town, it's everywhere. It's a quick money maker. They're going under the car, cutting them off, and selling them basically. There's some things you can do. Some manufacturers are making apparatuses you can put underneath your car to keep the catalytic converter from getting cut off. I know some folks, I talked to some business owners who have a lot of truck fleets. You can go and you get your catalytic converter, you can actually get it marked so it can be tracked. I'd prefer something to prevent it from getting stolen rather than track it. But there are things out there, and we see some of those also. We're getting hit with our share of those.
We're having those in town.
Yes, those are in town as well. And just to touch base, to follow up, I know Captain Silmar talked about Hondas and Kias getting stolen, and it has the USB, some easy way to steal it. I don't fully understand. There's
I saw the video. It's kind of scary. I don't know if you go to TikTok, but basically, the car is a bit of the materials are not very high quality, so you can rip the actual plastic under the steering wheel, and then once that comes off, you just remove the cylinder and put a little USB cable to charge your phone. In the car, for some reason, it fits the actual part where it will turn the car on, and it just starts right up with just a USB cable. So I've seen many of those videos. Yes. It takes them 2 minutes. The problem is getting in the car. So they're breaking the window to get in the car. And then once they're in there and they can have a charging cable, they're good to go. They just rip that down and do it. It's the Kias and the Hyundais, and they're actually giving some wheel locks now, trying to prevent that, and they're changing some things for the newer models, but it's a problem for the ones already on the road.
We have a shipment of wheel locks coming from a Hyundai dealership in the area. So when those are in a couple weeks, we'll advertise that out, and if you have one of those cars that are vulnerable, if you get with us, we'll get you a free wheel lock.
Oh wow! In addition to the catalytic converters on Hondas, they can break in, take 4 bolts out, and take the airbag.
Yeah, those are expensive. A replacement airbag is $2,500.
It took 6 weeks to get a new airbag.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you don't have an airbag, you can't get insured, you can't drive.
Yeah, and the thing with the catalytic converters, if we can get them, like especially the Priuses, they get taken a whole lot of Toyota Priuses because if you think about it, those cars don't use the catalytic converter as much because they're mostly electric. So the minerals inside the catalytic converter are actually in better condition, so they weigh more, so they're worth more money. So you don't want to get the catalytic converter of a car that's gasoline because it's worn out. You want to get those, so that's why they target those particularly. But you can get like a number, like a personal number attached to the catalytic converter, and that way if we ever catch the guys taking all this stuff and we find all this catalytic converters, we know who it belongs to, because sometimes it's hard to determine who the owner is if you don't have a specific number, like making it yours, so we can know which one it is.
Do you have any opinion on, they have catalytic converter covers? And I've also heard they have alarm systems now you can put on the converter. I don't know if either one of them.
I'm not aware of those, but I don't think it's a good idea to cover the catalytic converter because that gets really hot, when you're driving, and the longer you drive, I can't imagine putting a cover on that because that's pretty hot, so it will melt anything pretty much. So I don't know, but I'll look into that. If I find something, I'll let you know.
Why are they looking at the VIN numbers when they go up?
To make sure that's the right model. So if they were looking for, and that model was a Dodge, right? And it looked to me like if we were talking about which model it was, because he's a Dodge guy, and it looked like it was like a gasoline model, but it was like the Lariat model, or it was like the Bighorn model, the ones that are really expensive, So they go and just double check, okay, that's the right one we're looking for, so don't get the base model or something that's not what they, because there's, organized crime orders specific vehicles, like go get me this type of car, go get, so that's how they operate.
But if you're finding most of them, what's the ending? I mean, organized crime away.
Well, they're hoping we're not going to find it, obviously, right? And then sometimes they just want it, like they said, to do another crime, because a lot of times they take the tags out, they put other tags, and they keep driving it, and it's just to commit a bunch of crimes, and then they jump into another car and keep it going. They just keep moving the tags over and over, because they know they probably reported stolen, and everyone's looking for that car at this point.
It's a guessing game when you don't make an arrest. I can tell you, like the carjacking we had in town a couple weeks ago, even though that car was tracked to the exact location in Baltimore where it was recovered, even internally, we were talking just based on the expense of that car. We were talking that thing was probably on its way to a boat somewhere and just got put there for a little bit of time. So there's all kinds of different reasons. Joyriding, drug transactions, drug deals, moving drugs around, or like I think Art said, just getting back home. There's all sorts of different reasons, but majority of them we do find on a street, usually somewhere in Maryland or DC, and recover it. And when we find one, we do send our crime scene tech out. He does the fingerprinting, see what we can recover. But again, as I mentioned, it's especially if it's juveniles, they're usually not in those systems yet.
And so to what extent, all the mentioning, to protect your car, if you just basically go places during the day, now since the carjacking, I'm trying to go anywhere I want. So, you go in town. Do I have to really worry here in Vienna or the area that someone's going to try to get, link into my fob and my phone? And I mean, this is becoming almost a recipe of insanity.
Well, I think that's why Captain Silmar really hit on there are common denominators, especially in town. It's unlocked cars, it's key fobs in cars, it's keys in cars. Certainly there's the ability to mirror a key fob. There is a carjacking, we've had one. I would not say you should be changing any behavior of that other than locking your car and make sure you have your key on you. Without getting into too much detail on like the carjacking, I think that was a targeted situation. It was a very expensive car. And I think someone was out with the car and was seen and was followed into town or to the location where it was carjacked. We've not had any other carjackings anywhere else on our stats. Right, Art? That's correct. So I think that's the premise we're working under. It's where that car was before it came, and then it just ended up on a dark park street and got carjacked. But I would not change your behavior, the way you do things. That's exactly what we would not do. That's why we're out there trying to aggressively patrol these areas.
And there is nothing, if you're working with Baltimore police or DCC, there's nothing that can be done to prevent people from getting on the metro or coming to Vienna stuff?
It's a regional problem, and everybody's sort of working on it basically together. Fairfax County Police has they stood up a whole car theft team. I think they call it the ACE team, Dan, is that? The ACE team, specifically targeting stolen cars. So as we have them leave, Art's always communicating with that team. What do you know about the area? What do you see? What's going on in Tysons? What's going on in Oakton? The state police, we just had a meeting last week with the captain of District 7, the state police captain. The state troopers are seeing the same thing, and they're seeing even more because they're on the interstate system. They have license plate reader cameras, strategic locations around the region, and they're just getting hits all the time. Here comes a stolen car. Here comes a stolen car. And then again, same thing. Nobody wants to chase these things. You don't want to get in a 100-mile-an-hour chase with a stolen car with a 17-year-old behind the wheel. We are actually looking at LPR technology also. We're probably one step away from having cameras on Maple that'll read license plates as they come into town. That'll at least give us a heads up, hey, a stolen car. If they're bringing a stolen car to steal another car, we should get a ding that a stolen car has entered town. Officers' cruisers, they have in-car video. That in-car video is also a passive license plate reader system. So as they drive around, if they hit on a stolen license plate, the officer will be alerted to it and share information. So there's a lot going on regionally to try and combat it, to try and combine resources. Even our carjacking, Prince George's County helicopter is the one that was following it in Prince George's County before we came in, before it got recovered. So, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, piggybacking off of her comments, this is going to be a second. I'm going to give you a little backstory. Okay. So we just moved to Vienna in August. I was telling the mayor this. Right after I got out of the Navy. I was a prosecutor and defense counsel most of the time in the Navy. We got our car stolen 2 months after we moved here. So part of this whole raid. Pretty upset about it. Still, obviously, partly our fault, probably. I'll take that mea culpa. Keys were either accessible or maybe in the car while my pregnant wife and I were moving baby furniture in the house. So, our mistake. However, I do have some concerns about some of the steps that were taken afterwards, some of which the lady addressed. So VPD was very responsive that morning, which I appreciate. Officer showed up 10 minutes after we called, took the report and all. That night, I was able to track my vehicle to Southeast DC. Unfortunately, my wife's GPS and hers had just stopped working 3 weeks prior because they switched from 3G to 4G, apparently. So we couldn't track hers. I called VPD, Vienna Police, and notified them that I tracked it down and asked, what they suggested to do about it. And they said that they would send a teletype, I think they called it, to DC Police. So I said, okay. So don't go out there. I said, okay. So I waited a little bit. I didn't hear anything. Frankly, so I almost worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. I didn't have a ton of faith that this was going to go through as they were telling me on the phone. So I went out there. Call me stupid if you want, but I did. I didn't go in, getting out of the car, running up, and I drove by, saw it, drove down the street away to a lit area, called the police, the NTC, said, hey, I found it. By the way, they had no idea that the teletype had been sent. No cops were there. This was an hour or so after I had called. So I waited another 30 minutes, another hour, nobody showed up. Another 30 minutes, another hour, nobody showed up. So 3 hours into this, I'm driving around in a pretty bad area. Nobody ever showed up. So that raised a little bit of concerns as to whether or not this teletype system works. I finally found some police officers on the side of the road chatting. I asked them if they were there for my call. They said, no, we got your call, but we're not here for it. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go get my car because I have no idea if it's going to be there tomorrow morning because apparently nobody's taking this very seriously. So you guys can come with me if you want, but I'm going to go get it because I've been here for 3 hours now trying to get somebody to come help me with this. I'm trying not to be an idiot about it, but they finally obliged, came with me. So I got on, having been a prosecutor, I got on the phone with Vienna Police, said, hey, we found it, doesn't look damaged. What do you guys want to do about evidence collection, et cetera, right? I want to say, well, we're not seeing anybody out there. And
By out there, do you mean DC or your house?
DC,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, I had them on speakerphone with DC police sitting right here. I said, well, DC police, what are you guys going to do? Because there may very well be fingerprints on this thing. There may be DNA evidence. I don't know. There could be any number of things. It's sitting in front of a house with a camera looking right at where my car was parked at the end of a dark street. So I'm like, well, there's a camera right there. Is somebody going to come out and maybe at least ask the neighbors for this? Maybe later on consider a subpoena? Who knows? DC police don't want to do anything with it either. They say, hey, no, take your car, go home. I said, okay, well, as soon as I get in this car, I'm going to start, damaging evidence. Potentially, there's going to be evidence spoliation. This is going to come up in trial later on. I've been here, done, okay? Like, this is dumb. There's got to be a better answer here, right? No. You guys wouldn't come get it. DC police wouldn't do anything about it. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to leave you here. So drove it home, right? Next morning, I call you guys again, let you know, nobody reached out to me to come fingerprint it. Somebody, after I reached out, somebody came several hours later to fingerprint it. And then it was 2 days later that a detective was assigned to the case. I only found that out after I came here, several hours into that Monday, wanting to know if there had been anything happening, because again, having experienced this stuff, I understand this is not like the crime of the century. I get it. Like, nobody died, thank God, nobody got hurt. But at the same time, like, if anybody's serious about like trying to track down a car, or track down these criminals, then I would hope that at least there's a detective on call who's maybe able to facilitate something. Apparently there was not a detective on call, or they didn't get the message. So I understand that maybe has been addressed per my conversation with you gentlemen that day, but that aside, per follow-up conversations, there seems to be an understanding that you guys can't get access to evidence or witnesses that are across state lines in DC, can't get access to juveniles who may be the defendants, can't subpoena people, and there's a lack of understanding as to who exactly will be prosecuting these crimes. So I've asked all these questions. And by the way, my wife's vehicle actually dinged on a speed camera that night. We got a ticket for this guy that was driving it after it was stolen. And that did not set off the trackers or whatever. Nobody tracked that. It's still gone. Yeah. It's still gone. Right, so I get a $200 ticket, but this camera is not doing much. So
actually, the ticket camera should have set off the LPR itself. Well, they're intertwined.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The ticket camera should have.
Highlighted it that it's a stolen car. Okay.
So anyway, I know I'm being a little long-winded here.
If it's okay, could you please ask your question, because we also have questions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Terrible to you.
So no, it's okay. No, I understand. So I guess my question is, in general, are you guys aware of these things? And is there anything being done to address these cross-jurisdictional issues? Because I have some serious concerns about, whether or not evidence would even be collected in the first place. And if it were, is it even possible to prosecute? Who would be prosecuting, et cetera?
Sure. Just in a nutshell, and Art, feel free to jump in whenever if I miss something. Back in the day, before this became what it was, the jurisdiction a car was recovered in would recover that car. You would come out, officer would come out, fingerprint that car, they would recover it. You would get a phone call, we would get the paperwork, we would get the witness information, we get all. In areas like DC, other areas where stolen cars are not the priority, they aren't getting recovered. In the perfect world, and what we should do for customer service, and like we did with the car in Baltimore, we should send someone out there to try and recover that car. We're out of jurisdiction. If something happens while we're recovering the car, we have no police powers, but we should come out and try and help recover that car, what we're going to get out of it. But like I said, the model's changed. The model used to be the jurisdiction that car was found in would be recovered. You mentioned teletype. That's still, we'll do the same thing. Jurisdiction's not going to touch a car until they have reason. And their reason is a teletype coming from us saying that car's stolen. And it sounds like one was sent. It sounds like they knew something about the car, but weren't going to go recover it. I think you could have got better service from the Vienna Police Department, honestly. I think you could have got your answers a lot quicker, moved up and got some comments, because a patrol guy isn't going to, I'm sure he doesn't think he has the freedom to go over to DC and recover a car. But if you work your way, had it got up to the detective bureau, up to Captain Sillmore, it would have been a different answer. It would have been, yeah, we have a crime scene tech. He can drive over there, maybe not in the middle of the night, he can drive over there tomorrow and help process that car. So that is what the model should be, but I will tell you, it has changed. We're not gonna, a car found in DC, they're of next to no help. A car leaving Fairfax County and with the juvenile in it, the stolen auto, as attorney, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, the stolen auto is in Fairfax County. That's our prosecution of a stolen. Now, a juvenile in a car in DC is in possession of stolen property. I can tell you right now, that's not gonna be prosecuted. Our efforts to bring people back, if we identify someone, we will go through the Fairfax County Commonwealth Attorney to try and bring someone back if they're arrested in DC. But I'm not going to say one way or another how successful we'll be in that. So, glad to talk to you some more. Give me a shout. Captain Sillmore will be glad to follow up on your specific case. But okay. Yes, ma'am.
Chief, I missed the first 5 or 10 minutes, but did you address vehicle tampering? We've been talking about stolen vehicles, and we saw the statistics, but can you just, if you're already covering...
No, it's a fine, absolutely.
What is the percentage? How many are we having? Because I mean, it's a lot, and it seems like...
We do have a lot, and you're right. If you're reading the highlights that Juan puts out every week, we do have a lot of vehicle tamperings, and I think our stolen autos are a spinoff of the vehicle tamperings, because as I did talk about, they're getting in glove boxes, they're hitting the button. If the car doesn't turn on, they're still stealing your stuff out of your glove box. They're still stealing your laptop, things like that. It's a crime of opportunity. It's usually a younger age group, and I'll be honest, it's just one after another. We routinely will arrest 3 kids walking around in the middle of the night, getting through glove boxes. They might be local kids, they might not be local kids. Take them off the street, charge them. There's another 3 kids the next night doing the same thing. It's too easy. They know they're going to get a couple dollars out of your car. They know they're not going to get the mother load, but they're going to get a couple bucks out of your car, might get a cell phone, and now they might get a car sometimes.
So, and just a follow-up if I can on that. Do you have the numbers?
I don't. We don't, but if you send me an email or give Archer contact info, we'll get it for you.
8 stolen vehicles, but is it in the hundreds per year?
It's
okay.
If you said 1 a week, probably 50 a year.
Yeah. It's usually the same thing like I talked about. We'll get none for weeks, and then we'll come in and there'll be 10 because they hit a whole neighborhood, a whole block, a whole series of driveways. But we can get you those numbers.
See, but I'm curious, does the police department have a visualization of that? Like, oh, we see a lot of easy entry points over here where groups are coming in, or we see, these kinds of cars that are typically tampered with. Like, can you speak to like your software, your data and analytics to say, these are the hotspot areas, because that gives us a little more information and action.
Sure, we're small enough that we don't have a very robust crime analysis unit. We don't have the bodies, we don't have the people, but we are small enough that we can see the trends. Every single case goes across my desk. If your car is broken into, I will see that the next morning. I'll see it on our DAR. I will see the report itself when it gets emailed to me. So I will see all that information. So yes, we do have passing on of information that can target communities. So we do know when a certain neighborhood's getting hit, when it's in a certain neighborhood or a certain area of town. The stolen autos, if we see a Dodge Charger, for some reason, those are popular trail cars, or people, they bring those in with someone in them to steal a car. We know that information's out to patrol, kind of the time frame. So we do it that way, but we don't have a big analytical department.
Chief, I'm not trying to put my money where my mouth is, but we do have a lot of people who work in tech in town. I'm sure there'd be some interest in maybe some joint projects, joint works to do some analytics for that. I think that'd be really helpful. It's another way other than just the residents to take protection, to understand what the things are that they can see from your department.
Oh, absolutely. And it's definitely a more efficient way. It absolutely is a more efficient way to actually do the analytics, do the crime analysis, do the hotspot mapping and things like that.
I was going to ask, how many police officers are there in the town of Vienna, and how many are in Fairfax County? And to what extent over the course of the last few years have you seen an attrition? So, I mean, it seems to me some of the crime is because they know there's really not enough covered by policemen. Are we seeing a dearth?
Not in the town of Vienna. I can't speak for Fairfax County, but in the town of Vienna, we have 41 sworn positions. We currently have 3 of those positions vacant. Certainly a couple years ago, 2020, we peaked at about an 8 or 9 person vacancy. And when you only have 41 officers, that is a significant vacancy. But also that's when we made the conscious decision that our priority is the town of Vienna. So while we have detectives out in the Fairfax County Narcotics Unit, a regional gang task force, some federal units, we use them for career development, for multiplying of resources. We recalled all those people back into the town, so the patrol staffing of 4 to 5 officers remains the same. That never changed. So that's how we adjusted when we saw the vacancies, but thanks to some great efforts by our background investigators, council, redoing the pay scale, making sure we're staying up with the region. We've been pretty successful on hiring officers, so it's not really a staffing issue. And if it is a staffing issue, we try to make sure it's not a patrol staffing issue. It might be another area that's not staffed as well as it could be. Yes. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Jumping ahead, what should we do if we're rear-ended after dark?
Sure. If you're rear-ended after dark, well, anytime, you just go, I call it go with your gut feeling. If you're on a dark street and there was no reason for you to be rear-ended, you weren't stopping, you weren't doing anything, someone bumped your car, lock your doors, put your 4-ways on, go somewhere where it's lit, call the police. Even as this gentleman said, we'll be there in minutes. You know, that's the advantage of having 4 square miles. We'll be there in minutes. And then even if it was a true accident, we'll help you exchange information. You go by what you feel. Now, if you're in a shopping center and it's clearly a rear end accident, and then, there's a guy right there, it's an accident, I wouldn't worry. But if there's any reason at all, you feel anything hinky, you just go to a lit area. Same thing if an officer's pulling you over. We're fine. Go turn your 4-ways on so we know what you're doing. Go to a lit area.
It makes perfect sense, but if you have to drive away, then you lose the opportunity to tell the person, hey, you hit me, let's exchange information.
I would still drive away. If that person doesn't follow you, you can still be on the phone to us. You can still get a vehicle, get a description of what the car was that bumped you, if you have any idea of a tag, color, make, where you are. That's one of the ironies, to be honest, with the carjacking. We had officers within blocks. We had officers within 2 blocks either direction of that incident. There was a 30-minute delay in getting the call to us. Otherwise, call would have came in. I wouldn't have been shoved. We probably would have stopped the car before it ever left town, or at least circumvented the process right away. Because officers are like, oh my God, we were just there. And they're like, oh wait, it's 30 minutes. It happened 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would add to your answer, since we're only 4 miles away from everything, I would just drive right to the police.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, if I may, for the same reason, I'm always thinking, should I call 911 or just call the Vienna Police Department? Because I'm just up the street.
Yeah.
So who do I call?
Either one gets you to the same place. In all honesty, if you have the non-emergency number, it might get you us quicker, because 911 goes into Fairfax County. They answer all the 911 calls, and then they send it out to us. We have a dispatcher. They're never so busy. They 1 or 2 rings. If it's more than 1 or 2 rings, let me know. He or she should be picking up the non-emergency number, and that's the same person you were going to talk to because of 911 anyway. I think I saw a hand. Did you?
Oh, I just wanted to know, so, we know the themes are lock your door, those sorts of things, get into a better habit, and, it's just unfortunate if it happens during the day while you're unloading groceries or something like that. How many cars are actually being, broken into, smashed window or something? Because, to me, yes, data analytics is nice and everything, but if no one's car is being broken into, don't waste your time. It's just lock your door and get your groceries in quickly.
Yeah, that's really what it is. At the end of the day, if you take nothing else away from this other than how good the cookies are, yeah, they are, aren't they? Is that if you lock your doors and don't leave your keys in your car, you so drastically eliminate.
Are any cars getting broken?
No. On your list, how many do we have? No, I can't say none, but
For car theft, none.
For a couple of windows have been broken and purses have been stolen out of them in a vehicle tampering kind of scenario. But as far as vehicle theft, no one's breaking windows and hot wiring cars.
Like just smashing a window and looking for a person.
Taking your laptop. We get some of that. Yeah, those are still out there.
It's not very many.
Probably if they see something in the window, I would think, right?
We've had a
So
few at
if
the
you have
dog
your
park. I
purse
know
or
that.
your-
We've had a few at the dog
Yeah.
park where people are away from their car. Someone's brazen enough to break a window, and even that's usually something that you can prevent if you make sure when they look in your car they don't see anything worth grabbing.
Even like HR 101 when you start a new job is you'll get in trouble with like your corporate work if you leave your laptop in the car and it's not in the trunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be in the trunk.
Right. We do the same with guns. That's can't.
Yeah, just follow-up question. You mentioned the carjacking earlier. That was a fairly violent crime, or just waving a firearm at somebody and stealing their vehicle, which I understand was fairly expensive. It was later recovered on the streets of Baltimore near the MedStar Harbor Hospital, I think. But nobody was arrested in that case. There was nobody around the car. So is that the motivation? Like, I guess the right word is motive. What's the assuming a criminal is acting in a rational manner? Is there any idea like what motivated to do that act and then just abandon an expensive car on the street?
That one, that's an odd one because the car was so expensive. I really don't think their intent was to pick that car up and drive it to Baltimore and leave it. I think when they saw a helicopter, I think maybe when they saw police cars following through D.C. and I think maybe their plan changed. I do not think a car that expensive's plan was to drive it to just get your ride back to Baltimore. I think they had other ideas for that car and they just didn't pan out.
And did the helicopter notice anybody leaving the vehicle, or were they?
Did they?
Only after the fact.
Okay.
Like when we rewatched the video, when the cameras pan way out, like I don't know that the pilot was aware that there was somebody. And again, it was a very dense population area, and that person was gone in a second. So no one was arrested.
And was the key fob with that one?
It eventually was. Yeah, the key fob was with the victim.
Oh, okay.
Is it just cars we have to worry about, or do people come here to maybe because they haven't had their homes broken into?
We have not had art burglaries. No, I mean, I would love that have to be the question. Yeah, I don't. Do we have any burglaries going on? Sprees, rashes? I didn't think. I haven't seen any. So no, it is cars. Not that we can't have burglaries because the same concept is there also. It's a crime of opportunity. Someone mentioned the old use a garage door opener to get into a house. Certainly you could do that. If you can get in a car, you can certainly open a garage door. We don't have any of those on the front burner of our events right now, but at the same time, it's not something I'm going to stand up here or sit up here and say we're not going to have because I'm not that brazen. Yes.
I believe there was like an altercation in like one of the parking lots.
Sure.
Yeah. So what should we do if we are in a situation like I'm the car next to that? Like what should we be doing?
Sure. Sure, I can talk about that a little bit also. That instance, actually, how we got the drone video. We had the drone up to do the parking lot. First, it's your safety. Number one is your safety. If you're safer hiding, you hide. If you're safer putting your car in drive away. Call us. Hey, I was in that parking lot. I saw this. I'm now 3 parking lots over. We'll come to you and see you. The things I wouldn't do, I wouldn't get involved with it. I wouldn't get mixed up in it. I wouldn't try and prevent anything. I would just call us. The incident we had in the Giant parking lot about a month ago now, I guess. That was not a random act of violence. That was not stranger on stranger violence. That was an ongoing dispute that just turned into a well over the top incident. So incidents like that, I would just stay out of, let us get there, let us deal with it. Like I said, the number one concern is your safety.
Just change the subject from to speeding in town.
No. Yeah, no one speeds, yeah.
So, I mean, I live on Cottage Street. It's kind of a downward ramp from Oak all the way down to Locust.
Yep.
And you mentioned Kingsley earlier. I know courthouse is a problem. How big a problem is this in your view?
It's a huge problem. This is one I will give you credit for. Patrick knows it. He has a list of spots guys need to hit on a regular basis, need to hit every day. It's the nature of the volume of traffic, both in town and coming through town. It's a huge problem. That's, to me, when I talk to officers, especially new officers, I tell them that's our number one priority. We need to be out there enforcing traffic laws because that's the number one concern of the town. That's where people are going to get hit. That's where people are going to, neighborhoods are going to be impacted. My deputy chief and I were walking to Dunkin' before the meeting to get a cup of coffee. We saw a car come from Courthouse towards Lawyers Maple. At that stop sign had to be doing 40 miles an hour. Didn't slow down, didn't touch his brakes, didn't do anything. Those are the ones we tell the officer, hey guys, we got to be out there. We got to be out there enforcing this. I'll take the complaints when you write someone that doesn't like they got a ticket. That's our number one priority.
And you're going to do another stop sign campaign, I think.
We will do. We did a stop sign.
Stop means stop.
Yep.
Right.
Stop means stop. We did a campaign for that. We're going to do a distracted driver campaign because I'm sure you see it too. Everyone with a cell phone in their face. And then we just find ways to keep the officers focused on the various violations. A stop sign campaign doesn't mean that's the only time I want a stop sign ticket written. I want a stop sign ticket written anytime you see it, but it keeps the officers engaged. It gives them something like, oh, okay, we're on a campaign now. So that's why we do that. Yes?
I hate to say this, but for the defense of everybody, cars are going a little bit faster. New cars now, they do go faster. You don't have to press much on the gas.
True.
So their cars are going a lot faster. So you might think that you're doing the speed limit.
Oh yeah. No, there's plenty of that. Plus, if your car's clean.
Hey, wait.
Yeah, it goes a lot faster. Okay. Other questions about, and this can be, you can ask questions also about town or police.
Yeah, the mayor's getting off the hook here.
No, I know, I love it. All you. I'm just here to support you.
Town, behind the town, there's a big storage box there, and you do work.
Excuse me?
Oh, that's the elevator. The town hall's getting an elevator put in.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons.
All our meetings are here for now.
Exactly.
And so we're going to move back. Our formal council meetings will go back there, but we don't have an elevator right now. Yes.
What ideas or plans or timeline is happening with the church next door?
Great question. So right now we're doing a feasibility study. So what can go there? So we have a company that's looking at that. We want to know, we don't want to just put out, and we are going to survey our residents and say, what do you all want? But we don't want it just to be a hodgepodge of anything goes, because we know we can't, certain things, cost and the area and, being next to residential. So we're gonna survey everybody. That should be happening in the fall. So look forward to that. And then we're gonna, make some decisions, but we don't have, it's gonna take a long time to fund it. So really nothing long-term is going to happen till probably 7-8 years.
Right.
Short-term, that's a different thought. So there's different ideas about what could happen there short-term. And so we're also going to ask those questions. And we have some ideas, but we also want it to be a community. Well, if you were at the I'll call it the pickleball meeting. So pickleball is very, very, a lot of active pickleball players in town, and but we don't have a lot of space in town. And so over at Glendon Park, we have pickleball courts, but when you have 4 games playing, it makes a lot of noise, and the neighbors were saying no more. And so we compromised, and so we had shortened the hours and the days. But it's not a long-term solution. So maybe one idea is to put a pickleball court in front of the annex or something. We don't want it we don't want to take the problem and move it so that other neighbors get bothered by it. But if we, that was just one idea for short term. We also have a gymnasium over there. The problem is right now we can't get the occupancy permit because we have a leaking roof. We have a lot of issues over there. And so in order to get an occupancy permit, we have to put in a lot of money. Sure. Well, is it worth it to spend everybody's tax dollars for something that's not going to be long term? And so there's a lot of big decisions like that to be made.
I vote for a skate park.
You want a skate park? I know that was something that. Well, yeah, okay. So write that down when we survey you. That's great. Yes, Emily.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Hey, Morris. Welcome. I'm not asking more questions. The bird situation in town.
Bird, B-I-R-D?
Yes.
Bird, okay. Tell me.
At all the shopping centers. I don't know if you grew up watching Alfred Hitchcock like I did.
I know what you're talking about.
I good. They scare me.
Okay.
It's the trash, like the
Gotcha.
dumpster, and I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but I'm guessing it's because the climate's getting warmer here. They moved here, and it's just the past couple of years. But they migrate from like one neighborhood to the other. I see them blocks away from the shopping centers, like on trash day, and there are a lot. I think they're crows. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
They're everywhere.
Right.
Bird excrement everywhere. Noisy. Scary. I don't know.
Right.
So I guess that answers half my question.
Well, no. I will. I'll think about it and look into it and see if is the trash not covered. Is that why?
But I think once the birds decide they like it here, it's going to be very hard.
Like everybody.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Do other people notice there's a bird colder now? I'm crazy.
No.
Well, that's something we could
Emily, you're not
talk
crazy.
to Natalie about because it probably is associated with the trash.
I know,
whether
that's
it's
what I'm
not
thinking.
covered, whether it's when they empty the trash, they leave some behind. So there may actually be something we can do.
Exactly.
We'll stop going over
work
and
with the
feeding them.
businesses to.
Yeah, commercial areas not being empty.
Right.
Well,
right.
that's what I'm
I was
thinking. That's what I'm
wondering.
thinking. It could be something associated with how they're handling the trash, which we may actually be.
This problem, that's fine. I was addressing to the
I'm just saying. I just have
helped me
ideas. I'm the idea guy.
Okay, I'll give it to him. All right, Ken. Ken, you have a question?
My question for both of you.
Yeah.
I had read last year, please don't quote me on this, but obviously it's happening, that Tyson's is becoming a big city, right? I mean, it really is. I've read that there are 19 high-rises there now, and there's going to be 50 plus by the time the development's there. When urban areas get to be that way, problems come. Are you thinking ahead of a vision to make sure that those problems don't seep into Vienna? And what is that vision, or is it something that you're just starting to think about? Because we've noticed, even since the metro's come here, a lot of homeless people kind of wandering by the house, sitting on benches, those types of things, scooters being kind of hijacked back and forth. But that's not what I'm talking about. Right?
So there's probably two questions in it, right? The crime part I'll let you deal with, but for years I used to sit on a group with McLean citizens, and it was Vienna and McLean, and we worked with supervisors and talked about things like parks. You need to have enough parks in Tyson's because our parks are pretty full over here. Schools, transportation. I testified, other people testified at Board of Supervisor meetings. And by the way, our Hunter Mill supervisor, Walter Alcorn, is here, everybody. So I meant to introduce you. So those are things that the town is doing, kind of being a watchdog and working with supervisors and so on to make sure that they are because it's supposed to be, Tyson's is, a city without a mayor, not really a city, but they're supposed to work and play and live there, right? They always say that. And so we're saying, okay, if that's true, then you guys have to, not that we don't want to, to be nice, you can come in and spend your money and go to lunch and things like that. But we do want you to, kind of take care of your residents there also so that your services are being provided there. And so that's a part that we're doing on that part. But the crime, I don't know.
We're always on the lookout, whether it's changing to mixed use in the town, whether it's Tyson's growing outside the town. We're looking at what impact that may or may not have on the town and the police service. Well, the one luxury we do have is myself and Major Janicki both spent 25 years with Fairfax County, so we're both just intimately familiar with the commanders at the McLean station, always in communication with the Tyson's team up there. If we have a problem, if we have a concern, that's the first group we go to. If they see something they think we need to know about, they let us know instantly. That's really where we're at on that. We try and keep the lines of communication open to see if something's going to go on up there that may come to us, or vice versa. We've had things come here that we tell them, hey, you're about to get the same stuff we did. So a lot of it is communication. We have a police force where it's per capita. well-funded, well-staffed. Officers are part of this community. So I really think we're in a good position as Tyson's grows to keep our footprint in our police department and keep the citizens protected based on that, just based on numbers. 4 square miles with 40-some officers it's a comfortable feeling to know we can get out there and be visible when we need to be.
In terms of our own growth here in Vienna, with mixed-use housing going up all along Maple Avenue at Pleasant and further down towards Nutley, what are we doing about our services and facilities and schools and shops and things that we need to accommodate, parks too for that matter, which don't grow, although the population continues to put more pressure on them.
No, true. Well, like we just talked about, we did purchase the annex next door, and that may be something that we decide to do for, well, it's definitely going to be for residents. So whether it's, we tear it all down and make it another field. So we're always looking at, do we have enough field space? Do we have enough pickleball space or fitness center, or whatever it is for our residents? The schools, we work with the school board. I mean, that's really county. But they certainly look at our numbers and determine, we're doing some renovation. They are doing some renovations in town in different schools and enlarging them because some of them are increasing. Infrastructure for what we have so far, we've done studies and our infrastructure is going to be okay with the number of increases that we have. So those are great questions. And traffic, I know traffic also is affected by Tyson's, which I meant to mention, and we are getting synchronizing the lights on Maple Avenue and having, what's it called, like real-time cameras or something. And what it can do, it can adjust the way the intersection is working. If it's failing, then they can readjust it real time, which is very different than what we have now. So those are some of the things that we're going to work on. Sure. Yeah.
I recently heard a talk from a gentleman who studies criminal data. And he said that crime is down right now from what it was in the 90s. I don't want to age you, but do you agree with that?
Types of crime are down now from what it was in the 80s. I think there's types that aren't down. As we're talking about stolen autos now, other areas you may see violent crime up. So I think some types are down. I don't know if I would put in across the board crimes down to the 90s level. To be honest with you, just watching what comes across my desk on a regular basis, I don't know if I've definitely seen a downward trend.
Well, I find it very hard to believe because there's so many violent crimes that are reported every day.
Yeah, and you hear a lot more of them now. A lot of the things you hear about now you never would have heard of before. Now it's...
But they still occur.
Yes, they're still occurring, yes. I see someone. Yes.
What are kind of the rules and regulations? So I've noticed that there's been a lot more panhandlers around the shopping centers and things like that. And I grew up my whole life in Vienna. I never saw that, and I have noticed probably within the last 9 months it's really had much more of an uptick. And they don't seem like one-offs. It seems like it's kind of coordinated groups, and they all kind of know each other. And
the town has several animals going. Tom, correct me when I stray. If it's in a shopping center, that kind of falls back to the shopping center. We can't go in there and remove someone and say you can't panhandle in a shopping center. We just can't do that. Now, if the management of that shopping center says, I don't want that person here, then we have them warn the person, and now it's a trespass issue, not a panhandling issue. The town, luckily, has an ordinance about panhandling, like you don't see them on the street corners like you do in other areas. That's because we have an ordinance. You can't be in the street, you can't be on town property, town right of way, panhandling. Those ones we can come in and deal with, right, Tom? Is my pretty accurate with that? Those ones we can deal with. That's why you don't really see them at the turn lanes in town. We can move those folks along. But if it's in a shopping center itself, it goes back to the shopping center. A lot of times, it works both ways. Some shopping centers don't mind them there. Other ones call us immediately. But either way, we have to take the lead from the shopping center.
So back to the auto tampering, if I may. It's my favorite topic. And regardless of the numbers, I venture to say there's probably a huge amount that are underreported because people are, like I was, embarrassed to report it at first, but I did.
Sure.
Has the town considered any kind of, let me back up. I mean, it would be great if people knew that Vienna's not a town where, you know, we're going to stand for this, or that we're taking other precautions and other measures. We have community watch. Like, is there any kind of sort of marketing awareness campaigns, even if it's just reminding residents, right, to lock your car doors? That if I'm someone who's like, hey, I'm going to go tamper vehicles tonight, oh, there's a lot of marketing going on and awareness. I'm just looking for other ways to help to.
Sure. We put out in, if you get highlights, it's a weekly publication. Every one of those has some safety tip in it based on the conversations we're having here. Anytime Vienna's proclaimed one of the safest this or that, we always make sure we push that out as hard as we can. And then a lot of it for me is just guys being aggressive. I think the word gets out there based on coming around. This gentleman mentioned traffic. There's nothing better to prevent crime than a bunch of traffic stops. We can be doing a lot of those in town, and we do a lot of those in town. So that's really the push we do. I don't know if you mean maybe we should market. Come into town, we're gonna.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you know, it's community watch, or it's, you know what, like, let's do some sting operations. I mean, I'm surprised that I'm laughing, but I mean, let's go back to like, where is it happening? And it seemed like the last couple of years, that's why I'm so shocked it's so low. It's like happening all the time. There'd be 5 or 6 cases every time the blotter came out. And I don't know if it's more in the summer, so how do you get ready for it? But just, I appreciate your suggestions. Oh, they're fantastic. And they're almost always things that could have been prevented, right? Like, hey, we get it. But what can be done on the other side? Your suggestions all rely on people.
Sure.
And so are there other techniques, things that can be done that maybe in another time we want to come to?
Sure, I agree, and we're always looking for that, and we will always advertise that when it comes up. Like when we do get these cameras in place on Maple or these cameras in place in the car, we'll push that out. We'll advertise that so people know, both people who want it for safety, both people who would rather avoid it. We push that information out so we do know that so that people understand what we are doing. Kind of the same thing with the traffic campaigns. We push that out. That's not to push it out to say, hey, look what we're doing. We're trying to influence behavior. Without, hey, we're going to target something, so let's influence behavior. So we don't have a lot of, I don't think we have any neighborhood watch. We may have one inactive one in town, but that's something if a community wanted to put that together, one would be great to come out and talk to a community about a neighborhood watch or things like that. So we're certainly available for the outreach.
One last follow-up question, maybe slightly different topic. Are there opportunities to actually put up cameras for speeding that issue tickets? I mean, we've all gotten those in the past, but I also live
ordinances have just changed. Fairfax County just put them up in school zones. Go ahead.
And yeah, there's a pilot project that Fairfax County's doing. So we've got 9 school zones around the county that we're testing these out. And we just got authority from the General Assembly within the last couple of years to do that. So.
And I'm sorry, just quickly, what defines a school zone?
So basically it's where the flashing signs are, or the speed zones. So within that, we're going to have automated traffic enforcement. In Hunter Mill, we have one. It's actually going to be in Reston Terrace Elementary on Soapstone. For anybody that drives up there, be careful. Slow down.
Speed, yeah. There's good and bad.
Because then if anybody, you go a little bit over, then you've got a ticket for the few people who really are.
And I think that's probably why the county started with school zones. It's hard to argue.
And there's also the state law lays out what you can use them for, and there's a 10-mile-per-hour grace amount, and basically it's not that high of a fine. So we're going into it slowly.
So I can say we will certainly just be watching that program to see how that works as it expands. But as Mr. Alcorn mentioned, it's fairly recent that jurisdictions in Virginia were allowed to do these things. Same thing with red light cameras are coming back, but they're still regulated by the state.
There is an emotional component of it, knowing that, let's say you're not thinking that you're on the zone, what happens, and you're driving and you could be going 11 miles over the speed. Just knowing that, did I go through a lot? Did that thing flash? If something's watching me, just the whole, it's an uneasy, to me, sentiment. You have to.
don't think we should have that.
I think Jocelyn, you sure? Okay. Good.
You mentioned earlier getting wheel locks for certain vehicles for this. Just wondered, based on the earlier information, would you consider purchasing some Faraday bags since all of the new cars have these fobs?
Well, the wheel locks are coming to us from Hyundai, is giving them to us to distribute. If one of you local business gentlemen or ladies would like to purchase some and we'd deliver them, we'd be glad. If Navy Fed would like to sponsor a program. But it's something we'll look at. Until Juan brought that up, I was completely unaware of that technology. So that's something we can look at. If at the very least, we will make sure we push the information out. Like I said, he got that on Amazon one day, just showed up in his office, like, hey, here's how easy this is. So we'll make sure we push that out for folks.
Yeah, Jocelyn.
And speaking of technology, so Officer Juan, thank you for sharing the information about the Neighbor app, because I wasn't familiar with that. I think a lot of us use the
Next door
neighbor.
for information,
Yeah.
but that's for the cameras exclusively.
Yes, so my question is kind of tied to that. If there are additional tools like that that you're using, because the push notifications that come via email and then you have to click to get to it, it's kind of burdensome and cumbersome. And like with technology that's available now, to your point earlier about all these tech components and tools that are accessible to us, it should be a little bit easier to get that information out to residents, or partner with residents, whether it's through social media or a different type of pushing out this information, whether it's marketing about the new technology or what you're doing in these new marketing campaigns. There should be something a little bit more current.
We send text. There's Vienna alerts. Karen is in the background, the town PIO. We try to work with her, whether it's a road closure, whether it's a crime, to push things out. But you're 100% right. As things change, there's always different venues, and we need to make sure we're using the right ones.
We normally do it, I'm the one that does those. So when we get highlights or media release, I normally do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We send it via text, we send it via email. It depends when you sign up on the website. You have to go to the website and sign up for the alerts, and you choose if you want a text, if you want an email, if you want any way you want it. We have an automated system that could even call people when there's an alert, but you have to sign up for them and you pick which one you want. Right. But once we put it on the computer and I set the alert, it's going to go and realize what method you prefer, and that's the one it's going to use. But we send it pretty much every possible way that we can. And normally, I get it on my phone too. I'm signed up for that because I want to see what you guys are seeing. So when I get it on my phone, I live in town, so I can get it too, right? So it's a hyperlink. So when you click on the hyperlink, it brings you to the Town of Vienna website where the document is archived. But people can just go to the website and go to media release for the town or the ones for the police, and then they're all over there for 2 years. We keep them archived for 2 years, and then it deletes to make room for the new ones. So every 2 years it kind of deletes our information, as far as I know. I'm not the one in the IT department. I just know how to send the alert.
If you know of a way that we're not using that you know of, let us know, certainly.
If there's something else I'm not doing, but I do all the ones that we know how to do, and we try to do it consistently and everything.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to say you guys do a great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you. These guys, they do a great job.
Okay, I have a very important announcement.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Please sign up for the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. Yes, we want to win. If you've been in Town Hall, come into Town Hall, we have a beautiful trophy case, and there it is. We are having a friendly competition with the City of Falls Church and City Fairfax. I am friendly, but I do like to win. So, everybody sign up, and you just have to log your hours. It's just all time. We don't care what kind of exercise you're getting. What's that? Yeah, it's not ugly. I'm very nice about it. I want us to win. It's a team effort. It's not me. It's us. So anyway, I just thought I would announce that. You can go to the town website and sign up if you'd like. I know that Bob McCahill is here from NEVCA. Do you have something for us?
I didn't have anything to offer. Usually I do, but we have our next meeting with Bob McCahill with Northeast Vienna Citizens Association, and we usually have a speaker in May and November. And last November we were fortunate to have David Levy, the planning director. In the past, we've had you, Madam Mayor, and we've had Walter Alcorn and others from the town. So we haven't decided on a speaker yet or a date, but it'll be in May, and it'll be in the beginning of May, the Vienna Voice.
Right, and anyone can come hear me. You don't have to live in Northeast.
Yes, everyone's invited, so stay tuned. And thanks again. It was a wonderful presentation. Great.
And are there other announcements? Is anyone else here? And as you may know, the town council is going through their code, their 60-year-old code, town code, and we're studying it right now. We will have public hearings, and we want to hear from you all. Right now, you can listen to our work sessions. They're just riveting. I mean, you may put you to sleep, but there may be some things that you're really interested in. So if you have things to say, you can email us, or wait till the public hearing and come then. But just wanted to make sure everybody's aware. That's another something that we really want to hear from residents about. So anything else?
And if you have ideas for topics
Yes.
at this meeting, because we're going to do it quarterly, it's going to be this type of setup. We certainly don't want it to be police or crime every single time. If you have any ideas, something, a burning concern, whether it's parks, code create something, please let us know so we can set it up. Any department can come.
And birds. It just may be on birds, right?
Birds,
There you go.
exactly.
Okay.
Car cleaning.
Well, until we get an address on those birds, if you have any problem with birds pooping on your car, I recommend all those details. Concierge provide you good wax protector.
I saw you feeding those birds.
Yeah, right.
I recommend you use some saliva on it and get it off immediately because bird poop is acid. It'll go through your clear coat.
There you go. Thank you very
All right,
much.
well, good night, everybody.
That's your tip of
Come-
the night.
there's-
Thank you.